bumper stickers where they say visualize world peace? And some people are really cynical about that, but I can visualize a multi-ethnic world living here because it's walking out my window every day. And I know the people that are not in this prestigious institution, UC Berkeley, don't have that same experience. But I hope as we go out of here and start new businesses and artistic ventures and go into politics that we recreate some of that experience.
The moment I arrived here, of course, the vastness of this country, diversity of the races that intimidate I feel intimidated in a way because there's so many different people and they're very different.
Well, it was really confusing, a lot of new things from using telephones, which were different. I spent first 2 days trying to call back, and I couldn't do it because it was different. And so you just all the little simple things that you think are just normal and that you don't even think about them became a problem.
I've been living here for almost 3 years, and it is like junk food or maybe even like a drug. You get very addicted to the way of living here. That is a very easygoing, very service-oriented life.
I felt othered prior to coming to the village. As a Native American woman, one with dark colored skin, I automatically have been othered all my life, or at least I feel as if I've been othered all my life. So upon coming here, I came here with an othered attitude originally, and then coming here and not finding many other Native people or people that I felt as if I could relate to made it very difficult. Interesting though, even though I felt othered, is that as I looked around me, and it was usually the dynamics of a blanket call of being either Native or being white, is that I noticed, and it was the white domination that I felt that was always othering me, that it wasn't present in the village.
My son's school organized the garage sale, and I was working there helping them, and I was trying to sell some kids stuff. And then when a woman came, she was exactly somewhere from these Arab countries. She was Muslim, and she wanted to buy something. So I was trying to sell her. She was pregnant. I was showing her stuff for newborn. And then my son asked me something, and he asked me, which language do you speak? And I told her Croatian. Oh, and then she answered me, I'm sorry, I can't buy from you because you are from Croatia. And I asked why, and then she told me, I'm Muslim, and all these things which going back in Bosnia, this fighting between Muslims and Croats and Serbs, I can't buy from you. They say, okay, maybe it will help you, I'm from Croatia, but I'm not Croat, I'm Serb, if that makes any difference to you. And then she told me, oh, even worse, So I tried to explain her that time that I really don't have anything against Muslims, anything against Croats or Serbs. And I told her that my husband is Croat, and I don't know what is my son, if he's Croat or Serb or he's Yugoslavian, I don't know. But I have a lot of friends, Muslims, back home, and I'm trying to help them. And I was really trying to explain her, and but it looks that she just couldn't
Go beyond
barriers of ethnicity.
Living in the University Village in Albany here is a very nice place to be in. It's a very good chance to see and try to interact with many other cultures and many other people. But sometimes the timing doesn't fit in certain occasions. And we experienced one of these occasions. It was a very important international potluck that they arranged here. Mm-hmm. But it was in a timing that we could not go. It was the holy fasting month of Ramadan for the Muslim nation. And the potluck was at the daytime. And the fasting time is the daytime. So we couldn't go. We wanted so bad to go and get the chance to meet many of our neighbors here.
This is a kind of artificial situation, artificial community. It's because people from different parts of the world are just thrust together because they have one common attribute. They're all students of this larger institution, by and large, which they really do not feel like, that they belong to an institution like that. So in that sense, with this diverse orientations, what people expect of each other in terms of children's upbringing, to us, that's the main problem, how we expect our children to grow up and relate to others, and how other people expect their children to be. These are sometimes very different. And so we have had problems, with that aspect. Like, for instance, one child hitting our baby who's 2 years old. And to us, that was shocking because we would never expect one of our children to do that. And so this is just a kind of a, spillover from having different orientations towards children's upbringing. And to us, that's very shocking. So this kind of incidents make us wonder whether it's possible at all for human beings to live together.
I tend to hang out with other Native people. And I see that a lot. I see a lot of Asians hanging out with the Asians. There's certain types of tribalism going on. What I have found to be probably the most fascinating is the Afrocentrics that live within the village. And it wasn't a personal event that happened to me, but it happened to my Cree girlfriend whose daughter was running around or had met this nice young black girl in her middle school, and they were playing together. One day the father was home, who was what I would call an Afrocentric. He suddenly saw Teresa, this young Cree girl, and she had to go home. The daughter called, the young girl called Teresa and said, well, my father doesn't like me hanging out with anybody but blacks. That's, he feels that, we have to stick together, and this is how we live, and we have to take care of ourselves, and there's no room for other people in our lives. It was astounding. My Cree girlfriend, of course, just flipped out. She said, of course, being Native American, well, this is our land. How can anybody even tell us where we can and cannot play? She tends to be a little Native-centric, I think, too. She won't marry anybody but another Cree. But it's interesting how it's important for these people to, for some reason, to get their strength, or think that it's important that they can't move beyond themselves, that there's something that they need. Even though I tend to too. I tend to keep within my own, is that I'm still at least open to what's around me. I think that that's important. If we're ever going to get along, it's mandatory. People who cling to their culture with such tenacity, such as Afrocentrics, Eurocentrics also, for that matter of fact, Native-centrics, are people to me who have just newly found their identity, where they are, after once again being othered and being oppressed and being marginalized most of your life. I think that people gather together to get strength again. My hopes, and what I've seen with many people, is that they eventually start to disperse after they feel confident and comfortable and knowledgeable within their own culture. Many people, not all, tend to then disperse and be able to allow other people within their lives, or at least start appreciating the difference of other people.
When we moved here, we didn't anticipate this being an international community, and it was a shock when we arrived. So after we got over the initial shock and going from, for example, I grew up in a community where there were no minorities. Going from that to where actually white Americans are a minority, it was a very good experience for me to reflect both on my culture and who I am, and to start to appreciate other cultures. You definitely have to change the way you look at yourself, the way you interact with other people, because if you're just dealing with a homogeneous community, there are a number of things that are all shared, and that's just part of the relationship you have. But if those are not given, then as if you have an intercultural friendship, then you have to go to a different level.
Being American is a state of mind, actually. I mean, you are people from different cultures who are basically sometimes who have discarded some of the values and begin to question new values and trying to open themselves to new values are here. So in terms of that perspective, they can only define themselves as Indian American or Chinese American or Mexican American. And to me, America is the ultimate, ultimate achievement of people from different cultures living together, despite all the tensions. And I think the university represents that at a microcosm. And so living in this kind of an experience, I think it's very important to have an identity of being an American, a certain state of mind, a certain outlook towards life, a certain broader perspective, a larger picture of life than to define myself. Well, we Indians never eat beef, or we Chinese don't do this, or we Mexicans don't like this. I mean, it's very dangerous. It's very negative even to living together.
Sometimes when I think about the village, it just, I compare it with what I'm studying, and it's just like in my work, we are trying to preserve the diversity of the plants. So we have many different species and keep them safe. And sometimes I look at the village, it's just like the same community. We have all our people, but they're different races, different cultures, different understanding. And it's very interesting that all these are coming together and living. It's just like in my field, we call it a common garden study. We bring all plants from all over the California in one place and observe them, looking at how they are doing. In plants, sometimes they die. Sometimes they cannot tolerate that condition. But in the village, people are coming from all over the world, and it's amazing they all tolerate it, all learn how to live together, how we're thriving, and how to learn from each other, how to exchange ideas, how to learn and take it back with them. And this is a true melting pot, in a sense that even though you melt into the community, you learn and take it back with you to your country and give others the same understanding about other cultures.
Stuck with me, that saying that it takes an entire village to raise a child, and I think that's true in the village as well, because if you're able to reach out with other people in different cultures and things like that, and actually kind of share love with other folks, then they tend to take care of your children and try to show them and teach them other things.
When adults come to the village, they've already have had information about other peoples, so that you may have some bias. It might be subconscious, but you may have some bias. So you are going to be acting, so to speak, sensitively to some things. Now, on the other hand, children don't have those kind of biases. And what I found out is that they really interact very well. To give you an example, when our daughter came here, she was 3 year old, coming in straight from Kenya. At that time, of course, she hadn't gone to college like I had done to mix with other people, from different backgrounds. But within a week, she had mixed with other kids from the courtyard, and she was very, very comfortable with them. So it took her a very, very short time to do so. And through time, I've now found out that she interacts with them very, very well. We recently moved from another block to where we are right now, and she had lots of friends there. The very first day here, when we were moving things, she was out in the courtyard making new friends, and it looks very easy for them to do so.
We have 2 children, both of whom have spent most of their years in the village, playing with different children, different colors, different cultures, and just learning that the things that are really important aren't the color of the skin or the language you speak, but being able to enjoy each other.
Living here, I just can't, it confuses me why people can't just get along like we do here. It seems like this isn't ideal. People are living here, living their lives side by side from totally different worlds. I mean, there are people from everywhere here, and we get along. It's a great place. Our kids play together. You know, our kids run, you know, they speak different languages, and they're not mocked, they're not teased. When I was growing up, if there was a child who spoke Spanish or Chinese, you know, you'd always have someone making little jokes or making fun of the way they sounded or making fun of the way they looked, and this prejudice. And here, I must say that I don't think I've ever seen any kids make fun of each other's differences that come about from their culture or from their race. I haven't seen it.
Here in the village, it was a problem. Everybody says hi when meet each other, you know. So first few days, you know, I was saying hi to all Chinese people because I met only one Chinese person, you know, and I keep saying to everybody hi because they all looked to me same, you know. And after a while, I was really embarrassed because of that. And when later, you know, I found I make some friends with some Chinese people, and I talked with my Chinese friend, and she told me, "Oh, you don't have to feel embarrassed about that. I had the same problem when I came here with the white people. You know, they look all same to me. You know."
There's international get-togethers and potlucks and flyers or newsletters that talk about the different ethnic groups here in the village.
I've
So
played
things like that,
basketball
yeah.
with guys from Africa and Sweden and South America, Mexico, Korea. There's Korean teams and Taiwanese teams. The Taiwanese and the Korean teams play each other, and then the Korean team will play a multiracial team that I play on. And we have interaction on that level.
The village, I believe, is active in trying to get the different people together. They do have international events, potlucks, gathering, rummage sales where people gather, dances, and I don't go to those. And I would say the majority of the people that I know in the village do not go to them. So for me, it starts small. It starts with your neighbors. It's these little events, because if you get in these big gatherings, it's difficult to have any type of intimacy or any type of, to me, real conversation when you're just surrounded by a bunch of people that you really don't know and you feel as if you're forced to talk to somebody, you know. But these little events is what I feel is more powerful and more meaningful in trying to get people to understand each other and understand the cultures around them.
This process of learning to communicate, to establish friendships with people from different cultures, we have at times felt a little burned, or just where you reach a point in the friendship and you don't know, you don't know where to go to next, and it is kind of a barrier or something that you don't know what to do next. There are differences, misunderstandings that can arise because your cultures are so different. There's one example that happened recently. A good friend of ours, Kelly and I had gone on a second honeymoon, and he's from Taiwan, and there they believe that the first hair of a child is something that needs to be cut off. And our little girl needed her bangs trimmed, you know, just in front. And he went ahead and cut her baby curls off and back because he thought he was helping us. Because that part of their culture is to cut the baby's first hair. And that's not part of our culture. And that was a difficult situation. But because we can communicate in other ways, we were able to work through that, and he was able to understand really that he had crossed over a line he shouldn't have, but our friendship remained strong because we were able to communicate about it and talk through the misunderstanding.
And working with women in the swap shop, women from different cultures, I think it doesn't really matter whether it's the same culture or a different, or whether you are all women, but it just somehow has to click. And sometimes it can click with totally different cultures, women from totally different cultures. And although there are some cultures that take more time, I think, to get to know each other well, to understand each other's way of handling things. But yeah, I think overall also the fact that, for instance, most women, they have children, so you tend to have a common cause. Sometimes even you try to exchange trading with babysitting with other women that work there. So that's also kind of a network that can be set up through the swap shop.
One Sunday afternoon, we were in the village, and some people we hardly knew invited us to the building right across the street for a barbecue. And I think I was in the middle of hanging laundry, and Walter's the more social one of the two of us, and he was talking to a guy across the way. So we went over there, hardly knowing them. He said, "Bring Jesse," and they had great food, and they had just barbecued. And we walked into an entire party, and everybody there was a mixed couple, black and white. Not necessarily, I mean, not, could be a black woman, white man, and they all had children. And I don't think anywhere else that I've ever been that just happen spontaneously, that we would walk into a party. Everybody, it was not that we ended up necessarily, we didn't end up being close friends with any of those people. That wasn't really enough of a bond to make us have a close friendship, but it's a way in which we are different and separate from other people, and Jesse's different because he's biracial than a lot of other people. And we could just walk into a milieu where everybody was like us in that way, and that was really surprising.
One of the things that we have seen a lot here in the village is the shoes outside the doors, which is really interesting because you don't see that in our cultures. But I guess a lot of the Orientals do that. So we are starting to do that ourselves too.
Certainly we'll go away from the village with, a better sense of the world. At least I think I will. Earlier, Bangladesh was just some country to the side of India, which was small, and where there were lovely saris. Dhaka saris are really famous, and, in my mind, Bangladesh was Dhaka saris and a small country to the side. But now we have a lady who lives just below us, and Bangladesh is not just a vague thing on the map. It's a person who lives close to you, and when we pass her window and we get the whiffs of the food that she cooks, it's just wonderful. It's similar to Indian food, but it's a little different too. And so it sort of brings things closer. Like we know some Egyptian folks. Now Egypt is no longer just a place on the map; it's people, And so that I think we'll take away with us. I don't know if it'll help us. I don't know if we're going to if that's really of overwhelming magnitude or something, but it is something that we'll take away with us.
Villages right now for me, it's something like protected area. Here are people really from all around the world, so it gives me hope that it's possible to live together. And I really, doesn't matter what's happened to us, to our feelings, I still trust in that people can live together nicely and happy.
I think a global village is possible because more and more with the advance of technology and the the overpopulation and people moving and coming here and going there, that we're all world citizens. The most important thing is to be able to deal with a person from anywhere, to have a communication and to be able to get along and to be able to work together to create a better place everywhere.
I think that it's going to come to a world village, whether we like it or not. Whether that world village mean that, you know, we are so, there's so many cultures that are within close quarters and everybody's moving, and that we have there is no other direction but multiculturalism. We are going there, you know. How it's going to work is a different issue. I'm not sure how it's going to work. I think that it's a long ways off before we have any true appreciation of difference and understanding of difference. There's a lot of things that need to happen before we can have a good world village. We are going to have one though.